welcome to another episode of Chaos in London. We lay our scene the evening after the chaos escapades of yesterday, with two of the survivors, Adib and Sophia, meeting in the private maid's room of the Hollow Chantry, Belladonna's Bakery, to take stock of where things go from here.
Well, Adib is somewhat diminished. He's been stockpiling energy as best he can, but he had to pay some of it off today and use some more to make this new, somewhat more discreet outfit in his mind. I mean, it's at least, it blends in better. It's not a penalty to stealth rolls. So he's going to, it's also not completely that outfit. He does not have the belt, for example, but he does have the cloak and the robe, so to speak, which in this case are the same material, just different colors. He's going to head down the stairs and look around. Oh, sorry.
Sophia's probably, sitting with a coffee quietly by herself and playing with her phone. Oh, Adib, you look different.
Given we do not know what happened to those who fled, my normal attire may have been, well, it was very distinctive.
That it was.
I might wear it again sometime.
Well, there's no harm in keeping special attire for ritual purposes.
Exactly. This is still not in your style, but it's a little less noticeable. Slightly.
Certainly, yes. A little less noticeable. And you've had a beard trim.
No, that's just the
okay.
No. Shall not touch my beard.
Yes. Well, as I say, well, I mean, in all fairness, I don't think anyone could have expected a giant snake.
No.
There were various points where things might have gone unexpected, but that was not a possibility any of us could have considered.
Well, at least no one died. Whatever damage may have been done to the carefully maintained illusion that is maintained by people here, no one died.
Yes. Perhaps someone should check on Nancy in the hospital, make sure she isn't saying the wrong things to the wrong people.
If she is, would not your people that you spoke of, these union, would they not already be waiting for people like us?
Possibly.
I believe the safest thing to do for her is to stay as far away as possible for now. But perhaps I will be able to check on her at some point. I will have to find a way of being more discreet to do so. I don't believe I can simply walk into the hospital and find her. Even if my djinn were to just tell me where to go.
Are you familiar with Eli?
I believe we have met.
I believe he would be able to heal her if that matter weighed in your conscience and you wanted it sorted.
I believe her injuries were less than extreme, thanks to the djinn's efforts.
Oh.
But he sent her to a hospital to ensure she would be safe. I do not believe she was in any immediate danger of dying. He did stabilize her.
Let's hope it wasn't a poisonous snake.
I believe he would have dealt with that, but that would probably have been part of stabilization, but I am not sure. In any case, that is not my... Well, there are individuals who I have lost track of that I will need to find. Peter's OC, since we haven't talked to Tiger, I'm going to assume he's still resting because that was a hell of a night. Two of Peter's comrades fled. I will need to find them. They, at least, were already partway through their training. Not much. I had not actually begun to show them any actual sorcery, but I had begun training them in the basic building blocks of what they would need for the sorcery.
So where do you intend to go from here? If you are you giving up on that particular group?
If I can find the resources and a safe place, I may attempt to recover each and every one of those that witnessed this event, but that would take time. And again, resources I do not have at this present. At the moment, the only place I could take them is here, and that's not a good idea. So,
and I'm not entirely fair on who runs this chantry.
I am a tenuous guest here myself. I do not wish to overstay my welcome by bringing in too many guests.
It sounds like the first thing you need is a proper place of your own.
I have some thoughts on that matter, but I am thinking more long-term for the moment. For tonight, I have a bed and a roof over my head. And I have an opportunity to regain some energy before I am due to pay off another portion of my debt. But
that money would pay rent for a good while.
Yes, but again, it is easier if I do my work here for the moment. Plus, I cannot go anywhere until I have seen what Peter's condition is. But besides, that money, it is useful, but I mentioned the possibility of finding a house or something to that regard, and apparently, though I could not buy a house, except a very poor one and not anywhere near the city, if I were to try renting with that, it would, what was the word? Their background checks?
Yes, that sounds right.
I do not have any
background.
Yes, I do not have any records, so to speak. But
you have to see if we can find someone who's got the right connections to help with that.
I am less concerned about that for the moment. I am content to remain outside of that system for now. I can always find my own place to live, or make it into a place worth living in. I just need enough energy to do so, or the personal skill to work it. But in any case, as far as where else to go from here, if I am not worried about where to live or who I am living with, my immediate concern then falls to... I know that showing them this ability, showing them the Asha directly, can have the intended results, but there are too many variables at the moment for me to control it. I cannot predict how everything will happen and how they will all react, and I do not have the means to keep a dozen or so people contained, even momentarily, for their own safety. So, until I have such skills, I will need to change things slightly. I do not plan on simply taking one man at a time, or one woman, and teaching them. That would take too long. But I will have to keep the group smaller, and it would help if I found some way to make them more familiar with what I was doing. What I showed them was too alien, it seems. They had no frame of reference for it.
There must be mages in this city who have allies, servants, family, friends, partners who are not themselves awakened. Have you thought maybe you could offer as as a service to them to teach those people.
That is possible, I suppose, but at the moment, all that would... Here's the issue with that. Those people are already aware of magic, or would be if they were taking this up. While I do not mind simply sharing this knowledge for its own sake, I am more interested in sharing this knowledge to those who are not aware of magic. The individuals you speak of are already aware of the truth, though they do not practice magic themselves. They are still aware of Asha.
In some way.
Yes, especially if their relatives or spouse or whatnot are already among our number. What I need is some sort of medium, a bridge, something that is relatable, some sort of symbol or something that would be recognized by most. I do not know what that would be. I have seen precious little of the culture here. I don't remember much of my own, to be honest. It seems more intrinsic in my memories.
Symbols of power, but what kind of symbol? What do you want it to represent?
I am not sure, but if it makes sense, I feel I would know it if I saw it. Though it is not simply a symbol. I do not mean this symbol as in as I have seen depicted around here, a cross or something. It is not. That is not what I mean. A symbol in this case means more. Sorry, he trails off. Go ahead.
I say Sophia gestures to an empty Pepsi can on the table. I mean, there is a symbol that millions recognize that has power over them.
Yes, I have seen people drinking these bottles that have this symbol, but that is the image that would likely evoke is simply. By the way, it's funny because I have a Pepsi bottle on my desk right now. Coincidental magic.
Yeah, symbols have power. There's a reason you chose to have a Pepsi bottle and not a Coca-Cola bottle or a unbranded bottle.
I do not think it is. I understand your meaning, but it's not so much that one symbol is what I am looking for. It is not the symbol itself. It is more the concept that they would be familiar with. A word, a name, a picture. Any of these things could be the symbol, but it is a concept itself that must be familiar to them. And it would have to be something which resonates fairly well, something that connects with most people, whether they know it or not.
In times past, our ancestors spoke of myths about the gods, many different stories, and a corpus of myths and symbols about the gods of old, the gods of Rome and Greece. These days, most people don't have the same awareness of those stories. Instead, they have stories of fictional characters that writers have sat down and made up. Those are the stories now that millions will recognize, the symbols they believe in.
They have written their own legends.
Yes.
That is fine. That is much like this story that Jasmine took me to see the other evening.
Well, that is a slightly older story, or a version of it.
But it has been changed much, I was told. The original is not quite as it was shown there.
Certainly not, I'm sure. But again, it's a story which has in some form entered the collective mind. Everyone is aware of that story vaguely.
Yes, that is what I am looking for, though apparently that particular story is less relatable. They are aware of it, but there's little personal connection, and it is something that is...
The stories of gods seems to have been replaced by the stories of superheroes, of humans with amazing godlike powers.
So, like us.
But in some cases, yeah, very much so. In some cases, less so.
Much as this Jafar in the play that I saw.
Yes, or I think that's rather what's inspired Casey, who goes out with his vigilantism on the streets. He is copying these stories of superheroes. There was a story about a character who considered this themselves. He wanted to find a symbol to strike terror into the hearts of criminals.
I am less concerned with lawbreakers.
Yes.
But again, I understand your meaning.
He did what you did. He searched for a symbol to that would have power over people.
What did he choose?
A bat.
A bat?
Apparently, yes. He had a personal bad experience as a child with bats, so he took the bat as a symbol.
That seems counterproductive. If it was something that terrified him, he is only scaring himself. Unless he wished to experience terror every time he fought.
Some would say that's the best way to master your own fear, is to become the thing you fear.
I suppose that has some merit to it. Seems very strange. But yes, this is relevant. That is somewhat of what I imagined.
What do you want the symbol to convey?
It cannot be a symbol of peace. Peace is, well, a luxury that few can afford. I am not attempting to train people simply to sit back with their knowledge and do absolutely nothing, or simply sit in a hole and enjoy the fact that they know something that no one else does. They must be willing to use this information. They must be willing to... Trying to think what would be the best way to explain it. Again, it is one of those things where I think if I had years, decades even, to become familiar with all that is part of your culture here, I am sure I would recognize something or be able to name many things that could qualify. But I do not have that time.
Do you mean a symbol which will invoke a particular emotion? Do you mean a symbol that will invoke a notion of a sense of magic? Do you mean... I mean, I'm not clear it's not clear what you're looking for exactly.
Something that many people could relate to or wish to embody. It's something like, if this helps, there is... I remember that when... I'm not sure if this is memory or if someone related the story to me, but I will tell you what I remember. If a man looks... If a child looks at a drawing of a man with a sword, and the man is drawn in a very flattering way, where he looks heroic and strong, and the sword is raised and everything else, that child may wish to become like the warrior. He may wish to learn to wield a blade, and it is a childish dream, but he has the desire to relate to this figure. But if you draw the same man in a different light, poised to harm someone or looking menacing, the child will experience an entirely different reaction. The picture will fill him with dread. He will want to hide his face from this picture. That is the sort of difference I'm speaking of here. Like, I'm not sure if there's one specific... If it had to be one specific reaction, it would have to be...
Okay.
Fear, perhaps, but I feel that is too vague.
There is probably not one symbol for all men.
Very true.
But there are symbols which achieve that. For many people, it is the flags of our nations.
That feels... I understand that this is a matter of pride to those who live in your countries, but for what I have seen, although these surround you on a daily basis, most people give little thought to them except as a backdrop.
That partly is biased by the people you have seen and the part of the world you have seen. I can assure you, there are parts of the world where if you were to burn one of those flags, you would see the strength of people's reaction.
I suppose, but that is again a very specific reaction in a specific place.
there are parts of the world where they do burn the flag of the countries they don't like.
I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm simply saying that what you're speaking of seems to be situational. A flag of one's country does not seem to be a universal or even near a universal symbol, especially since it would only apply to those who lived in that one nation. If for that, I would have to use the flag of this nation, and since I know precious little of this nation to begin with, that might not be the best outcome. Not to mention, I apparently do not look anything like those who are, shall we say, the inheritors of this land.
Well, you say that this land is very.
Well, yeah.
Diverse.
You understand what I mean.
Have you not? You've not heard about the mayor of this city, then?
I have not followed most of regular politics here, but I've already had one person scream at me to go home.
You pause for a picture on her phone. He's not so dissimilar from you, is he?
And he is the ruler of this city?
He's the elected mayor of this city.
It's interesting. But you see my point with the flag, though. I appreciate the thought, but I do not think it would be quite what I'm looking for here. The flag itself only embodies the nation. It does not embody a specific cause.
No. So you want a symbol to embody a cause, and that cause is what?
It should be a call to action of some kind. Something that
puts her head in her hands.
And there's the moment where everyone's like, no, he's not going in that direction. No, he's not. Trust me.
What? I hope. Yes, this is South Arabia of the Antifa symbol.
He's just going to look at you and be like, what?
It's not relevant.
I do not understand it.
Okay. About what would it have been? 70 odd years ago, there was a colossal world war in which millions died. They call it the Second World War.
Worse than the first one, I take it?
Much worse.
Interesting.
They spanned the globe. It lasted some 6 years or so, depending on how you count it.
So lengthy time for one conflict, but I suppose if it was global, then it probably was much more significant.
Yes. The forces on one side were, okay, how can I put some terms to understand? Extreme authoritarians. They believed in extremely strong rule of law and the annihilation of differences.
So they were like this union.
I'm told some of the unions supported them. I gave them weapons.
Interesting.
Weapons that were too advanced, like
No wonder they are so hated.
Anyway, now here we are some generations later. There are some people who are advocated some of the same ideas that they once did. And that, of course, has provoked people to rise up and take direct action to oppose them.
If they're concerned about the same thing happening again, I can see their logic.
The problem being that those opposing them have a very, shall we say, wide definition of who they're fighting.
And thus, sometimes they draw innocents into the crossfire. Or
and
into the line of danger.
Anything they don't like might be because of the justification to be tarred with that label and struck down.
I see your point, but I'm not sure how it is relevant to what we were just discussing.
Sorry, when you start mentioning a symbol of fighting for a cause, I immediately be reminded of the symbol that this group has taken.
Well, I will definitely avoid that symbol, but I am not trying to.
No.
This
something.
if it helps, whatever it is should involve something impossible. Something that, though they are familiar with it, they do not believe it to be possible. Because if it is simply a symbol of a nation or something that they already know, it is not going to evoke any strangeness in their perceptions. They will not think of anything strange. If they see if they see me bearing a flag, it is not going to evoke anything too strange. If they see me bearing a symbol that makes them think of magic or something impossible, that may at least put their minds in that frame from the get-go.
Perhaps this will be useful to hold up that. Well, that's the symbols of the major religions.
I am not fond of any of these religions so far. Just on the little occasion I've had to interact with people who follow them here, but I believe that is a personal prejudice of mine. And I believe it is... it feels like something I have dealt with before. I'm not sure. But he looks it over. So, interesting.
That's a point of reference.
What's funny is it's actually not loading on my screen. Like everything but the symbols loaded on my screen.
That's really... Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, it is. It's like, here's the religious symbols. They're gone. They were deemed offensive and removed.
But you get the idea anyway.
Yes, I see. We'll assume they were actually there for him. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, holy shit, what's that?
These are simple geometric symbols, but they have a great deal of meaning because people, to believers.
Yes, but no matter what I pick, I will have to become very familiar with its history. But I do not believe I wish to convert to a religion that I do not believe in. So any of these religions would be... Hold on. Let me look at this list of religions for a moment.
Must be religions when you are around.
Could you say these devices can answer questions, yes? If you phrase it like, what religions exist in London?
I suppose.
He's going to just think for a few minutes. He's going to look at this. And he's looking through, like, because I assume I'm going to have to pick up Computer 1 at the end of this month, probably just to indicate that he's spent a little time learning how to use basic devices. He doesn't understand any of the principles behind them.
No.
There's no, like, I will be very explicit. This does not mean he can program. This just means he's learning how to interact with the super intuitive stuff.
Yes.
It's a magic tablet. Leave it there. He's going to look through this. He's going to be like, there are these... This shows how many of each religion was in this country. Most are Christian. Many do not have a religion. Some did not respond to this question. Those people I would probably get along with the best. There are these Muslims, Hindu. Hey, what's this one?
Which one?
He's going to link this one, which I will link inside chat. That's not the entire link, by the way. Just assume that's the information he's pointing to on the census.
That's probably people not taking it very seriously. It's a film reference.
So like the Broadway show, but moving pictures, as it was explained to me. Hmm. If they're not, never mind. I will take your word for it. What else, though? What else? So, leaving aside flags and symbols that would relate to this war you speak of, and leaving aside modern religious iconography, at this point, are we left only with these symbols of bats and so on, or there should be many other things, I imagine, things that are popular.
Symbols. Language is a symbol. Words are symbols.
Yes, but I'm speaking more of something, a concept. It doesn't have to be simply one symbol like this. That would be convenient, but it does not need to be. Perhaps,
Well, perhaps if you again, I'm still not clear what you're trying to convey. You're trying to encapsulate the
the list of things that I would wish this thing to convey would probably be too long and, frankly, contradictory at points.
Well,
I am most likely going to have to settle for a few key elements once something suitable appears.
But if you had to present it in 3 words or 3 short phrases, how would you describe it? What you want to convey?
My eloquence is at an ebb at the moment, but if I had 3 concepts to teach,
yes,
probably one would be that one must be prepared to fight for what they believe in. That seems to be a fairly common concept, though.
Okay.
Perhaps something about the truth, showing you the world for what it is, or releasing you from bondage. As all of these people are they are unwittingly impaired. What else? And I suppose the third concept would be something to the effect of, well, the truth itself, that magic exists, but I do not suppose we will find anything perfectly aligned with this.
Okay, that's... So you want, well, if you want people to see through or past the illusion, so symbols that relate to sight, like an eye, and indeed there are many occult groups that use the symbol of an eye. For example, I mean, the Egyptian gods, often represented by the Eye of Horus.
Perhaps I could speak to him about such a thing at some point, but not until I have paid off my debts. I do not even have enough energy to pay proper fealty to them.
Let me think. So, what other symbols or things convey, as you say, seeing through illusion and defending truth?
Perhaps we are thinking about this from the wrong angle, though. Sorry, plane passing overhead. Specifically, a jet passing overhead. Yay. Perhaps it would be better to imagine this from the perspective of going back to what I said about things that most people are aware of. Not necessarily that they put much stock in, but that they are aware of. For example, these heroes you spoke of. If there were... You mentioned this man who is obsessed with bats.
Yes.
That is a symbol which many would be familiar with, but it is not necessarily ideal for this situation. But it is something that most people have heard of, you say.
Yes.
You could argue that if I were to grab, say, 10 people off the streets here and show them this symbol, they would know what it means.
Yes.
Or at least they would know a name for it.
Yes.
All right. Now, ignoring symbolism, stories.
Mm-hmm.
There are stories that all are familiar with, it seems.
Yes.
I am not as familiar with them, unfortunately, but as you said, this show that I saw, Aladdin, that is a popular story that if you say a few key words from it or begin explaining the concept, if you begin to retell this story, most will stop you and say they are familiar with it.
Yes.
That is the sort of story I wish to base this on. Something that if you were to begin explaining it or showing imagery from it or doing anything to do with it, they would recognize it. Something that would resound with them in the sense that they know something about this. It gives them an idea of what to expect. Much like if you see a man walking towards you with armor and a sword, you know that he's likely able to kick someone's... Well, you get the point.
Yes.
But again, I am not familiar enough with the culture here to know what stories like that exist, and I'm sure there are many.
Stories of what? People that fight for truth.
Stories in general that people are familiar with. I am not necessarily interested in simply... Well, teaching the truth is the goal. I'm not sure. Perhaps I can ask Jasmine at some point to have me watch some of these movies that she's been talking about. I am not sure, though from the sounds of it, if I were to let her pick as many as she wishes, I would not be able to do anything but watch them for the next year of my life. Apparently, there is much catching up to do.
Yes.
But if you had to, for example, if you had to name, say, 5 of these epic stories that are the most popular, what would you say? We'll likely compare your answers to hers and try and find some combination that works.
5 most popular stories in this country or in Europe at least.
Or in the world. Well, there's something that has global appeal.
I'm not sure to speak for every part of the world, but well, I heard in this country they voted. Yes, they voted a book as the best book of the last century, which has now been made into a series of films. That would probably be one of them.
What is that one?
Lord of the Rings.
I've heard the word a couple times. I don't know if she mentioned it, but I will put that down on my list.
Taps to the phone.
How many of these
shows? Takes 2 minutes to show you the trailer.
Which one do you show him the trailer for?
I know. A1. Let's go for the first film.
All right, cool. Fellowship of the Ring. He'll watch it.
Right, there we are.
Be like, interesting. It is. There is definitely magic of some kind, and the symbolism. There's this one ring. I like rings.
Yes. Some would say it's a metaphor for that last war I spoke of.
Interesting.
The struggle against the tyrant and the authoritarianism, and against mechanized warfare. So that would have to be one of the most known stories.
I see. There's potential here. I will definitely jot it down. And I am actually writing these down, by the way.
Okay. What else? Well, you mentioned that that religion or that people are claiming there would be the films around that comes from, of which there's 10 films now.
Which one? Sorry.
Shows you Star Wars New Hope trailer.
He'll look, kind of be like, There's technology here. I see these things.
There is,
But
but there's also magic. A farm boy meets an older wizard who teaches him the secrets of magic, and then he goes off to fight the evil empire.
that is certainly a call. It is a relatable story that you would tell to anyone you wish to have fight for you. I will add that to the list. How many of these? Said there were some. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 for this one, and you said 10 for this one. How long are these
The
shows?
first one was only 6. The second one 10, but some of them aren't very good. I don't know, a couple of hours
Each?
They're shorter than the books. Or at least
that would take me a while.
Yes.
Not that I have too much better to do, but I do need to try and find these people and make sure they're safe. I don't know if I should be sitting down for that long. However, I will definitely add that to the list.
Okay, so
If you had to recommend
3 others,
a shorter list of those, like rather than all 6 from the first one you mentioned. They say 2 trilogies.
Yes, well, 2 and some other bits. So from the first one.
Yeah, he's talking about Lord of the Rings.
No, I would go with the. I would go with the first trilogy that was released.
Lord of the Rings
is the titles, yes.
All right, I will. That is at least cutting it roughly in half. It looks like. Okay, and for the one that has 10.
I would go with the first trilogy that was released, episodes 4, 5, 6.
Why did they? Why would they start with the later ones in the series?
I think he didn't expect to be able to make the others, so he thought he'd just start with making the best bit.
But he did eventually make them.
Eventually.
Also, I noticed the trailer for this, the trailer that you speak of here, it looks very grainy compared to the other one.
Yes, it was made some decades ago.
One is far older then.
Yes.
So, this one, he points to Lord of the Rings, has been around for...
The book has been around for, I don't know, decades.
But was the book as popular as this new thing?
You could read the book, but that would take you even longer.
Also, my reading skills with English have not become so masterful. It would likely take me far longer.
Yes.
A movie or a show would be far easier for me to follow. But I was saying that, was it as popular then as a book?
Yes, as I said, I think they voted the best book of the last century.
Interesting. But you said stick with the first trilogy.
The first book was for children. We got made into a trilogy, but the second book was always intended to be a proper book for adults.
All right, so there's 2 very popular series, very different. We have 3 more. If you have time,
the popular stories that everyone would know.
Or at least be somewhat familiar with.
Well,
I mean, I could list this man who is obsessed with bats. But
you could. There have been many films about him.
That is promising. Again, I'm not entirely sure that if nothing else, it may give me more perspective on what shapes your culture.
She recommends the Dark Knight trilogy. Shows you trailer.
This one is also more recent. Were all of them recent, or?
This one is more recent, but so the stories about the character have been around for decades.
All right. That's a third then.
Think for a moment. I mean, everyone in the West will know about the story of Jesus, the foundation of the religion here. I'm just trying to find the final film about him.
That would come back to religion, however, and though that is still central to culture, I am trying to avoid that area.
Okay.
I'd rather not base what I am to teach on, well.
Think two more.
If they are not quite as globally understood, perhaps somewhat locally understood. Oh, see, if you want me to give a suggestion, I can give a suggestion.
No, I thought I'd just give a think about it.
Type it.
I'm trying to think of something which might be relevant to.
I typed it.
What you talked about to well, actually, of course, we're in this country. There were the stories of someone called Robin Hood.
Interesting. And
these would be go back centuries. Stories of an outlaw, a freedom fighter, robbed from the rich, gave to the poor.
Not a bad. Well, it is thievery, but it is perhaps understandable thievery. I can understand a starving man stealing to feed himself or to feed others who are in need. That I can understand.
There have been rather a lot of films, but some, let me think about this once you're poking around. I think I'd suggest there's a film called Robin Hood. I'm just trying to get you the year, so I'll show you exactly which one. That was it.
By the way, you realize I'm going to have to actually watch the original trilogy again now.
I might suggest that one.
Which year? 1991.
I put the link in. I put a link to the wiki page. Often overlooked because there was another film that year with famous actors in, but this one I think is probably more appropriate to what you're looking for.
All right.
And yes, I think I have it. Just a moment.
Lord of the Rings, Star Wars 4, 5, 6, Batman Dark Knight trilogy, and then Robin Hood.
Yes, of course. The other one I'd suggest, there was a famous play called Hamlet. It's about a prince comes to terms with the death of his father, who was poisoned by his evil brother.
There was a picture for that at the play. There were advertisements apparently for other plays.
Yes, well, it's also been made into a film many times. But yeah, it was written to be shown actually in this city. And so this would be the play goes back some 4 centuries. The story is possibly older. It's actually a little like the story of the Egyptian gods. The king is killed by his poisonous brother Set, and then is avenged by his son Horus.
I will definitely take a look.
Yes, here's this year's film of it. But that's very much about the character's inward struggles with his grief and whether to fight against injustice in the world or not.
And this one is this. I will go with these 5 then and see what I can determine. I believe if I find any of the first 3 interesting, I will likely have much more to research. The 4th one and the 5th one seem to be more parochial stories that are simply being retold in the modern era.
Oh, yes, but they are stories which have been with us for a very long time.
Well, no, that gives them a very different sort of power, I believe. But it is, I'm saying there is less material to go through, perhaps. Well, that is my goal in any case. I will try and find. Perhaps Jasmine can watch some of these with me. I believe she has quite a few movies.
It's probably good that you can take your time to reflect on how things went and what to do differently next time.
I am not insane. I try to, if I have an issue, I try to make sure it does not occur again. Short of going off into seclusion for a year and returning as a much more powerful, magus, I don't believe I can do much. So I'm trying to find a way to change my tactics somewhat, to find an advantage, something they would understand. I cannot portray myself necessarily as this white-bearded man from that little clip you showed me, the one with the staff. I do not believe that is...
That is how people expect a wizard to look.
Yes, perhaps, but... Most people would not expect to be that man, I think.
No, they would expect to have him as their mentor.
Yes. So perhaps a good archetype in some ways. The elderly look is always important. But unfortunately, I am not so elderly, so... Oh, see. I got it all written down, so yeah.
Did you go back the locate scene?
No.
Okay, I'm just wondering what happened with the dead snake.
Oh, if you missed it, that was taken care of by Ahmad, my Jinn.
Oh,
I don't know where he took it, but I presume since I said put it someplace the police would not find it, it has been well hidden.
right.
Or destroyed, one or the other.
Mm.
Normally, I would probably want to take a look at it, but in this case, it's likely too dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Besides, I don't have the funds to convince him to bring it back, even if it is possible. What is the point? Where would we put it? 10-foot long dead snake.
In the sea?
I meant if you were to store it and try to examine it. It would simply putrefy.
Yes, it's probably gone quite bad by now.
In any case, I will see what I can uncover. I will let you know how my research progresses. Based on how long some of these are, I assume it would, even if I just watched these three, these three, that one, and any of those, that could take me several days, and I will likely have more important things to do, but I will try and devote some time to watch them. It should give me some perspective, at least. And with that, he's going to get to his feet and start heading back upstairs.
Okay, wow.
I appreciate the conversation and the advice.
No? You can let me know how you get on with them.
I will do so.
Okay, thank you, Players to Play, and thank you, Waters watching an episode of Not Much Chaos in London. The episode of Mages discuss which films are worth watching and avoid Phantom Menace.